Okay. What do you say we get started, Bethany?
Sounds good.
Right on. Okay. Welcome everybody once again to our Broadreach Middle School Adventures webinar. This is our first webinar of the new year. It certainly won't be our last webinar of the new year, but we're really excited that you're joining us. And my name is Patrick, and I am very happy that you're here with us all tonight. Happy to be here. So thank you so much for joining us. I started as a summer instructor in 2012 on our Bahamas marine biology program and went full-time here in Raleigh at our headquarters in 2016. I've worked in a variety of positions over the years, including program coordinator. Now I focus on customer service and communication, but certainly still haven't forgotten my roots as a diving instructor.
And hi, everyone. I am Bethany. I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at Broadreach HQ. So if you follow us on social media or gotten emails from us, looked at our website, I'm the face behind the screen as far as that goes. So it's nice to kind of be able to interact with people a little more on this webinar. I'm actually one of the newer members of Broadreach HQ. I started last year in 2021, but I've worked for many years in international education, both here in the US and abroad. And I was really excited to join the Broadreach team. I had a similar experience myself as a high schooler traveling to Costa Rica with a group from my school that really impacted me. So I'm passionate about the Broadreach mission and kind of helping reach other young people and help them have similar experiences.
Right. Just a quick FYI, a little Broadreach update. We now have a new owner. His name is Mats, and he took over this fall. Fun story, he was a student on the first ever Broadreach program in 1993 in the British Virgin Islands. And so this is a photo, you're looking at the first ever Broadreach program. And this is Mats here as a young, impressionable 15-year-old. And so we're very grateful to have had him working with Broadreach ever since he was on that program. He's been a coordinator, Caribbean director, CEO. We just know how important it is to have someone so committed to Broadreach at the helm for so many years to come. So we're very excited for the future of Broadreach and this new chapter. So just wanted to take a minute to share that with you. Here's the outline for tonight's webinar. And first, we'll discuss why Broadreach in general and our programs are so amazing. Then we'll chat about why middle school is the perfect time to consider a Broadreach program for your student. After that, we'll touch on how we support students before and during their Broadreach experience. We'll talk about things like fly days. We'll also take a look at some specific adventures we have this year for our middle schoolers. And probably most importantly for you all that are attending, we will have a Q&A towards the end, as hopefully we touch a lot on the topics that are relevant to you all during this presentation, but any of those other questions, we are an open book and here to answer those. My colleague Bethany, who you've met, she'll be on the back end, and I'll also be on the back end trying to answer some of those questions in that Q&A as we go, but feel free to also save those for the end. And again, that Q&A box will probably be best. FYI, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but all the photos in this webinar are from our middle school programs last year. We've even got a middle school program in the field right now as we speak in Curacao, one of our custom programs. So you might see some photos from that as well. So why Broadreach? So let me start with our mission, which I love to say, is to create mind-blowing adventures for students to actively learn, explore, and build skills through hands-on discovery and interaction with the world's oceans, ecosystems, and wildlife. We've really pared this down and focused it over the last few years, and something we're really excited to share. First of all, we are experts in teaching scuba diving and sailing to teens. So Broadreach has its roots in running teen dive and sailing programs all the way back to that first program in 1993. Students have earned over 40,000 certifications while on Broadreach. We're partners with PADI, which is the Professional Association of Diving Instructors. This is for scuba diver training, and IYT, which is International Yacht Training for sail training. So parents will often ask if their middle schooler is too young to learn to scuba dive or sail, and the answer is emphatically no. For instance, PADI allows students as young as 10 years old to learn to scuba dive. So if you're 12, 13, or 14-year-old is really in that sweet spot for scuba education. And we also think that learning to dive and sail at a young age can certainly create a lifetime appreciation of learning.
Yeah, next, we keep our group sizes small. So we're very intentional as far as limiting enrollments in our trips. We find that limiting enrollments to a maximum of 12 teens per group is really the key to optimal group dynamics. A small group size is a good balance. It allows exposure to diverse perspectives. So usually between 8 and 12 we find is the sweet spot. It's big enough to for students to be exposed to these diverse perspectives, but also encourages group cohesion and bonding. So we aim to strike a balance between providing students individual attention and also cultivating a family environment. I think for middle school students, especially, that allows them to feel comfortable to find new best friends and bond, but while not being overwhelmed by a group that's too large, where there might be some clique formation and other things. Also, our programs focus on immersive learning and fun. This isn't summer school, so while there is a lot of learning going on all the time, there's definitely a focus on fun. Your middle schooler will develop independence, self-confidence, leadership skills as they also build life experiences on a Broadreach program. We believe that applying knowledge to real life situations through hands-on activities is really impactful. So we might be talking with the students about coral conservation, and then afterwards take them snorkeling or scuba diving on a coral reef so they can really experience and see for themselves what they've been learning. So focus on learning plus a good healthy dose of fun.
Our instructors are experienced. As an instructor, love to talk about our instructors, but these programs are led by highly trained instructors who are experts in their field, whether that be marine biology, sailing, scuba diving, or veterinary science. So Broadreach instructors are also passionate about passing along their knowledge and enthusiasm to teens and to making their program an unforgettable adventure. We choose our middle school instructors very specifically. We look for creativity in keeping time structured and fun, as Bethany mentioned, but also instructors who are dynamic and patient. And since our job openings are really competitive, we can really look for instructors who have worked with middle school students on trips like these in the past.
Yeah, next, all of our trips are all-inclusive experiences. So once you or your student sets foot on a Broadreach program, all meals, activities, and accommodations are completely covered in the program cost. So you don't need to worry about budgeting for additional meals or add-ons activities. You can just focus on having the time of their life.
Health and safety. This is our top priority, and it shows across all Broadreach programs. We incorporate risk management into everything we do, from hiring and staff training to vetting in-country partners and creating our program itineraries. We often get asked if our programs are safe. While it may not be an immediately popular answer, my response is that we are employed year-round, which allows us to proactively manage the risks that our students and instructors will face while they are on program. We provide an extensive emergency action plan for every place that we go to, which covers how to respond to incidents, whether small or large. While the majority of our incidents are scrapes and bumps and bruises, we do occasionally have a stomach bug or a broken bone, something along those lines that requires more extensive medical care. But we guide and train our instructors on how exactly to manage these incidents and provide 24/7 office support during the summer to both our instructors and our families, should anyone need anything at any time. You'll see this thread throughout the webinar. We are here 24/7 throughout the summer. Our students also, especially our middle schoolers, participate in being great risk managers. We definitely want to share that with our students. They're briefed by instructors for each location they go to, and we help teach them important travel skills, how to be aware of the risks when traveling. So why is middle school in particular the perfect time for Broadreach? First, we believe in building confidence. A lot of families will ask if middle school students in general are too young for Broadreach style programs. Again, this is an emphatic not at all. Most Broadreach students get their start on our middle school programs. I'm sure if Mats, our owner, had the option as a middle schooler, he would have been there. But especially after the last few years of remote learning and being stuck inside, now is the perfect time to have our students building that confidence and especially those trust building skills in a safe and supported experience like Broadreach. Students will build confidence through trying new skills like scuba diving, sailing, seeing new cultures like the islands of the Caribbean or Bahamas, and meeting new friends from all over the United States and all over the world. Students will also reinforce those confidence building skills through creating mastery goals like scuba skills and a growth mindset. We're not big on pass fail here at Broadreach, but how do we grow? How do we learn from these experiences, which our middle schoolers respond really well to? Even navigating an airport, things like that can create a huge confidence boost for our middle school students. Students will also get to trust new adults, new peers throughout their program. So trust is something we like to instill in our students throughout their adventure. And trust and confidence, these skills are vital, especially as students are about to enter probably their biggest adventure yet, which for a lot of our middle school students would be high school. So
yeah, next, all of our middle school programs are discovery oriented, and they really allow students to have an introduction to the joys and rewards of experiencing new countries, new cultures, new activities. So for our middle school programs, we focus on providing an appropriate level of challenge that's age appropriate for them and their level. So they'll tackle new topics and new activities. We'll take a broader approach to learning than with our older students. So more of an introductory, you'll touch on a lot of different topics. This helps kind of ease them in and allow them to explore at their own pace. So while our older students in high school, they might explore a specific topic in depth, our middle school students explore lots of topics on a single program, giving them an opportunity to kind of figure out what excites them the most and what they want to explore more. And that leads well into the next point. So basically, our hope is that through this discovery and exploration on a broad scale, that the middle school students will hone in on the topics and skills that they're most excited to continue developing. So as they experience maybe one or two Broadreach programs as a middle schooler, those experiences will guide them as they enter high school to identify what they're most passionate about. And if they continue on Broadreach as a high school student on another program, they'll find opportunities to then focus in on more specific topics or skills that they've seen a little bit of in their middle school program. So our high school programs layer on and build upon the skills they've learned in middle school. As the trips become longer, we incorporate things like college credit or more advanced hard skill certifications.
Attention and motivation. Well, we have found that attention and motivation are crucial for our middle schoolers to succeed. So we really focus on this. How can we keep students engaged in learning? This is a question, especially for our middle schoolers who sometimes might struggle with these topics, but we do this by accommodating a variety of learning experiences and learning preferences. Also, whenever we are teaching, we try to use a variety of questions and tasks targeted towards different student learning abilities. So we really want to get to know our students before their trip. We also want to get to know our students in those first few days to kind of really be able to cater the program for them. Another thing we strive to do is on our programs is avoid competition among peers. This is subtle but important. We realize while competition might temporarily increase motivation, sometimes among students, we realize that over the long run, it decreases internal motivation. So that's something subtle about our pedagogy that we like to share. We also try to motivate students by helping them understand the likelihood and value of an outcome when making decisions, especially as it pertains to risk management. We have something on Broadreach called Leader of the Day. So we get those students engaged in thinking through the day, what we have planned, and again, what the goals are, so what those outcomes we want are, and of course, maybe some of the risks that we might have along the way. We also want our middle schoolers to understand the relevance of what they're learning in a larger context. So when we teach a topic such as coral conservation, we want them to understand that coral populations are, of course, fundamental to the ocean ecosystem, but also that coral health can even impact people that don't live anywhere near the ocean. So trying to make things relevant on a larger scale for our students, especially when they get back home and they start to process their adventure with Broadreach. Finally, we use things and instructional methods such as teachable moments. We highlight this for our instructors to be aware of it while they're with their students on a Broadreach program. For those that may not know, a teachable moment is essentially a time at which a person is likely to be particularly disposed to learn something or particularly responsive to being taught or made aware of something. So there are plenty of these moments on a Broadreach program. For example, say we see a piece of garbage underwater on a snorkel, it can become a whole lesson in and of itself for students to understand ocean pollution. And these are really sometimes our most impactful lessons, the ones that we don't have planned. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about pre-trip support and travel day. First of all, when you sign up for a Broadreach program, we will send you an awesome t-shirt. Awesome t-shirt. Ooh, yeah, there you go. Bethany's got hers on. So all students will have these, and these are going to be really important for travel day. And so this way students can spot each other at the airport, and if they want, they can start talking with each other, make fast friends if they so choose. Also, it's a good way for our staff members to see students at the airport when they arrive at their destination. Next, as far as pre-trip support, we provide vetted flight recommendations for every one of our programs. This will contain the airlines and the itineraries that we've seen that will set you up for success on travel day. So all families will be able to see these flight recommendations via what we call the Broadreach portal. It's another one of our support systems. It's a separate website with unique logins for families and students to get ready for their Broadreach adventure. A big question we get about travel day is, can students fly solo? For middle schoolers, students can fly solo or as unaccompanied minors. This will be airline dependent. It depends on that specific age, or middle schoolers can fly with their parents. So there's lots of options. Best thing to do with a particular situation and student is give us a call. We can help you understand those options you have when it comes to flights. We're also happy to connect families from similar regions on similar programs for fly day buddies. So just let us know as we get closer to the program start date, and we can help make those connections. And certainly while most families are comfortable booking flights themselves, we do have a travel agency that we work with. They can provide support for booking flights, setting up students as unaccompanied minors. We also provide minor international travel forms to help make travel day as smooth as possible when a student is traveling through the airport or trying to clear customs at their destination. Speaking of clearing customs, once students have gone through that process, we'll have Broadreach staff there at the destination with their Broadreach staff polos. Might not look exactly like the one I'm wearing, but pretty similar. But of course, they'll have a big welcome sign and a big smile and be there to greet your students. And of course, it might start to sound repetitive, but we are here 24 hours a day throughout the summer to help troubleshoot. So you will get a friendly human day or night. Also, a little fun fact that I've thrown in here, especially after this past summer, we had about 600 students out in the field, so we're very proud of that. But what we've also seen as a trend is families are starting to travel together more and more these days, and yay, remote work, right? But one thing to consider is picking up or dropping off your students in the Caribbean or the Bahamas. We're happy to help provide guidance on places to go or stay while you're waiting to pick up or drop off your student. And so finally, this year, we're also going to create a Broadreach network of families in some of our major hubs. Being around for 27 years, we have a lot of people who have come and gone through Broadreach programs. So by creating this network of families in Miami, Los Angeles, Charlotte, if your student's flight is delayed, we'll have a network of people there who are ready to help. All right, some of our on-program support specifics. If you do choose to become a member of the Broadreach family, while your student is in middle school, you'll find that we've honed in on providing an exceptional student and family-centered experience from the first moment you call through to the departure process into the program, and of course, even beyond the program into high school and college. We also love taking care of students' families by including you in the journey. This is a big point that I like to make. We've embraced technology and send frequent trip updates and photos to keep everyone at home engaged with the experience. You can sign up anybody you like for these trip updates. They'll usually come out every day or two, kind of depending on where the trip is in their particular itinerary. So you'll see photos, and you'll also really get these nice sort of blog entries from our leader of the day. So as far as supervision on program, we spend 24/7 with our students on the program. These are highly facilitated programs, so middle school students are never alone. They will share rooms on their program with 1 to 2 other students of the same gender, so they will have a buddy. And our instructors, as far as judgment and decision making, we have a judgment model that we teach during our summer staff training. and help them make decisions about appropriate limits for their groups within Broadreach's guidelines. But generally, the best way to put this is that our leaders have the same expectations for their group that many parents do at home. As mentioned, we do believe in building trust in our students. To be more specific about supervision on our middle school programs, this will be more direct than on our high school programs. So for example, when we visit towns or cities on our middle school program, we will split the group usually in two and have an instructor with each group. This is generally a higher level of supervision than on some of our high school programs, which will allow for a bit more independence. Something that comes up on our middle school programs is homesickness, and this can be an acute issue on these types of programs, and it's a question we get a lot, and it's perfectly natural. Even I get homesick once in a while, and so we certainly understand that each case of homesickness is unique, but we train our instructors to deal with this as well as other behavioral issues on our programs. And as I mentioned before, Broadreach HQ is here throughout the summer to support students, family, and staff if or when students get homesick. Okay, let's take a look at some of our academically focused programs. Bethany, take it away.
Sure, great. So we've got two kind of more academically focused programs that I'd like to highlight. And I do want to mention that as they're called academically focused, but this is not going to be a traditional classroom experience with tests and quizzes. There, as Patrick mentioned, there's really kind of discovery focus and they're student guided. So there'll be a lot of activity based things, and as students discover particular activities or questions that they have, those teachable moments, then they'll go into depth of one topic or another. The first one is our 12-day Caribbean Intro to Marine Biology program. So students will get to dive a little deeper and learn about underwater creatures and earn scuba certifications. So this is a really great introduction to learning with Broadreach in general. It's a combination of diving, sailing, and marine biology instruction while learning to live aboard a boat and all the fun and friendships that kind of come along with that. Our 12-day Island Wildlife Explorer in the Bahamas is a land-based program. So this is great for any middle school animal lovers, maybe thinking of becoming a veterinarian one day or some kind of future with animals. So they'll be exploring different roles of animal care professionals with lots of fun hands-on interactions. They'll work with Bahamian experts and learn more about exotic and domestic animals in the Bahamas. They'll gain experience working with conservation centers, farms, animal rescues, etc. You'll notice that a theme here around both of these being 12 days. We think it's a sweet spot for the first international adventure for students. We find in our experience that between 7 and 10 days is not quite enough time for students to immerse themselves fully in the experience, where 21 days might be a bit too much for some younger students who might be traveling on their own for the first time.
Okay, we've got some skill-focused programs as well for our middle schoolers this year. We've got our 12-day snorkeling and sailing discoveries program. So if scuba diving is not your student's cup of tea, this is a great option. Students can still explore life on the water as they discover a new passion, in this case, sailing. Students will, of course, hike and visit the surrounding islands that they're sailing to, learning new skills the whole time, and of course, taking in the culture of those islands and creating close new friendships with that sense of freedom that really only comes from navigating a boat from island to island. And did I mention that you'll also get to snorkel every day? So that is a highlight for this program. We've also got our 12-day scuba and sailing discoveries. This is really a quintessential Broadreach program. Students learning to breathe underwater, getting comfortable navigating a boat, and of course, hopefully along the way, falling in love with the ocean. We sincerely believe this live aboard adventure might just change how your students see the world. And the highlight for me here and a lot of our students is getting to dive on the island of Saba, which is one of the premier diving destinations and islands in the world. You'll see that also here over on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got some longer programs. This is for our middle school students ready to dive in a little bit deeper, pun intended. The aforementioned 12-day programs over on the left and the ones that Bethany was highlighting are available for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, while the longer 21-day programs are only for 7th and 8th graders. You'll see the 21-day scuba and sailing voyage. This program is perfect for the student that is new to Broadreach but wants to spend even more time with us. Maybe they've got a flexible summer schedule. And so you're able to go all in with 7 scuba certifications, 3 sailing certifications, and even more islands to explore on that itinerary. The highlight here is, for our students, the night diver specialty course, which definitely gives students a new perspective on life under the water. We've also got our 21-day advanced scuba voyage, highlighting that advanced portion. So this is if your student is already PADI open water dive certified. This might be the best choice with 9 diving certifications, repeat 9 diving certifications, and 2 sailing certifications. The highlight here on our Leeward Islands Advanced Scuba Voyage is the Rescue Diver course, which really gives students the chance to assist other divers, help in emergency scenarios, and gain a lot more confidence underwater. Again, building confidence is an important part of our Broadreach program design. And then we've also got our 21-day alumni-only Advanced Scuba Voyage. So if your student is already PADI Open Water Dive certified and has been on a Broadreach program before, then they can explore St. Lucia and the Grenadines. It's a whole new island chain. 9 diving certifications, 2 sailing certifications. The highlight here for our students is, as alumni, if they have the right amount of dives under their belt, they can potentially earn their Master Scuba Diver certification. So this definitely puts students in an elite group of divers who've logged 50 dives, have 5 specialty certifications, and have earned their Rescue Diver certification. It's pretty cool. Of course, if you want to go on an incredible personalized adventure, we also do have options. So if you see a program you love or your student loves but need different dates, maybe you've got a group of friends that want to sail together on a boat, our custom programs may just be the answer you're looking for. We've got custom programs out in the field now, and we've run programs in the past all over the world: Costa Rica, Curacao, Dominica, places like Iceland, Fiji, really anywhere your imagination takes you. Please reach out to us and we can help design a program with your dates, budgets, and goals in mind. So bottom line, every Broadreach program is jam-packed with fun, adventure, learning, and opportunities for personal growth. They will also provide amazing memories to last a lifetime for you and for your student. Since each adventure offers its own unique experience, it can be hard to choose which one is the perfect fit. And since we take a discovery approach to our middle school programs, we definitely recommend sitting down with your student and exploring on the website to see if a particular trip sparks their curiosity. If not, if you're confused at all, just give us a call and we can help guide you in the right direction. All right, so it looks like we have got some questions coming in. We'll give people a minute to go ahead and type in some more, and then we can start addressing these. But while everyone's typing, just a quick reminder that you can also use the schedule a call link on our website and reach out. We can set up Zoom calls. Final heads up, a lot of our programs are really popular and some are filling or are already full. So if you do have dates and programs in mind, definitely click on our Enroll Now button on the website. It'll only take 5 minutes to fill out the application, and then once we've received that, we'll reserve your spot and you can let the excitement sink in because you're going on a Broadreach program. Okay, looks like we've got a couple questions here. I'll take them from the top. Let's see, we have got a question about students requiring medical care on a Broadreach program. So on all Broadreach programs, we require that students have travel insurance. There's an option through Broadreach's partnership with TripMate that provides medical coverage while on a Broadreach program. We can send you the policy information with those limits, etc. If a student had to go to a clinic for a cut or a scrape, the expectation is that the student and family would cover that cost of that consultation and visit. We as instructors will hold on to receipts. We will have them fill out I-10 forms, and then we will make sure to help families connect with TripMate or their insurance company to make sure that they can receive reimbursement for any medical expenses while on a Broadreach program. If for some reason a student doesn't have a credit card or does not have the cash on hand for in the event of an emergency, then Broadreach can help cover that in the interim. But again, the expectation would be that the family takes care of that, and then we can help help in on the back end with when it comes to insurance.
We've got a question about vaccine requirements, the COVID vaccine, on whether we'll be requiring vaccination for this summer. And we have decided, yes, we'll be requiring the COVID vaccine for both students and staff for this summer. We'll be following the CDC guidelines. I know there's, it's kind of some confusion with boosters and who's eligible and who needs them. So if you're enrolled, we'll definitely be keeping abreast of that situation and kind of following the guidelines that are in existence for what that means.
Yep, and also countries are still adjusting to vaccinations and kind of what fully vaccinated looks like. So that's also something we'll be considering as the guidance of the countries that we are entering. Let's see here, we've got a question. Are these programs and locations similar year after year? So when it comes to our scuba diving programs in the Caribbean, we have been running Caribbean programs based out of St. Martin since, let's see, 1994, 1995. So it's a place that we call home. It's essentially our second home, other than Raleigh, North Carolina. So we will be running Caribbean programs for hopefully the next 27 years. And so we will be back, and we're grateful to be back, especially after what the last few years have been. And so to answer your question, Tiffany, yep, we'll be back in the Caribbean for many more years. So whether your student can join us this year or next year, the Caribbean will be on the agenda. We've also got a question about students sleeping on the boats. So for our Bahamas land-based program, students would not be sleeping on a boat. So we will have accommodations set up for students on land. For our boat-based programs, so the sailing and snorkeling, sailing and diving programs, and that intro to marine biology program, since those are all boat-based, they're on a catamaran. And so it's quite a comfortable set of accommodations for the summer. So yep, students would be sleeping on the boat every night. And it's again something that we've been doing successfully for the last 27 years. And it's a great way to travel, sleeping out under the stars and sleeping out on a boat. So, okay, let's see. So if I register my student to reserve my spot but change my mind, can I cancel? So let's see. So it depends on when that cancellation takes place. So throughout the year, we have different cancellation policies. So at this point in the year, we would have to take a look at the individual situation. So reach out to us, and we can also put a link in here to our cancellation policy, but it will also kind of shift depending on how close we get to the summer. So what I usually recommend, what we normally recommend for our families, is purchasing an insurance policy that has what's called a cancel for any reason benefit. This means that if you have to cancel for, again, any reason up to within 48 hours of trip departure, then you would be able to get up to 75% of any payments that you've made, flights that you've booked back, and certain situations would call for 100% refund. So as we get closer to the summer, sometimes we have to kind of share that risk moving forward when it comes to starting to book our boats and hiring our staff. So again, that cancellation policy will shift a little as the year goes. Okay. Do you want to take the next one, Bethany?
Sure. So I've been answering some questions in the chat there.
Go for it.
We got whether kids travel with a friend or by themselves. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah, most students come by themselves. We do have some, occasionally a student will come with a friend. But yeah, we really kind of, as we've talked about, group dynamics are, fundamental to the experience. So we find that having students come together and bonding as a group kind of on an equal playing field is great. But if there are, two students that come together, maybe siblings, cousins, friends, we can make a note if they're on the same session to be sure that they're on the same boat together. And we would just kind of, the instructors would work to make sure that the pair is integrating with the rest of the group and not kind of being exclusive on their own, that they're getting the fullest experience possible.
All right. If you're in the chat, Bethany, go for it. I'll keep answering these questions in the Q&A.
Sure.
Okay, we've got a question about the ratio of male and female students. So generally on Broadreach programs, it will tend to tilt a little bit towards the female student end. So maybe in general around 60% to female, 40% male, but it will also come down to the specific program and those specific dates. So each one can look a little bit different in terms of the makeup of boys and girls. And so what I usually say though, with that as a caveat, is that when it comes to one student, right, we wouldn't have just one student of a particular gender on a program. So if we were to get closer to the program and that looks like it's going to be the case, we'll reach out and talk about what those options are. But we also find that after the summer is over with, most students really haven't considered or really thought about kind of, oh, there were too many girls or too many boys on my boat. So it usually doesn't end up being too big of an issue for our students or our families. And then to follow up on the rest of the question, are they just with their one boat the whole time, or are they connecting with other boats of kids as well? So on Broadreach programs, boats will have usually a sister boat that travels with them. So there'll be those two catamarans for a given program, and then there will be a support boat that follows our programs around. With that sister boat, generally, sometimes there is a chance for them to connect, but I'll usually set the expectation, especially around COVID protocols and trying to keep our groups as pod style as possible, that they really won't interact with many other boats or other Broadreach students. There will be time for that, but it is not a big part of the Broadreach experience. And we find that keeping that boat as a family just allows those friendships and relationships to deepen even more. So, all right, next question. If the trip says that there are 3 sailing certifications offered, do most complete the certifications? Yes, to answer your question, Mara. So all those certifications that we offer, whether it's scuba diving or sailing, that's something that we've created over the last sort of few years to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to complete those. So it's very rare that a student wouldn't have the opportunity to complete those, let's say, unless there was adverse weather or really something out of our control came up, then there might be a reason that a certification didn't get completed or offered. But everything you see there on our website with certifications is attainable for all of our students. Okay, we've got a question about students that might be a little bit more introverted. So places to hide away during boat life. So there certainly are moments and there is time on a Broadreach boat to have time to recharge and have time to move away from the group. I think it's really important, and something our staff are highly keen on is just being aware of those group dynamics. And so if there is a student who just needs to take a moment to themselves, that's something that if they communicate with the staff or the staff figure out that a student needs, then we can be accommodating to that. So sometimes students, after the day is done and all the chores of the boat are completed, then they can go find some time to listen to music or journal. So there is some time to get away from the group again, but our programs are pretty full on 24/7. So usually the expectation is that everyone is part of that group for the most part, but there will be time for students if they do need to get away and recharge. So we've got a question, are boats docked or out at sea for sleeping? So for our boat-based programs, we will be in harbors or anchored up or moored up every night. So the boats, while not traditionally docked on land, they will be in close proximity to land, and the boats, most importantly, will not be moving at night. So they're in comfortable, protected harbors. It's just a nice, quiet and calm way to sleep on a boat. So hopefully that answers your question, Courtney. We've got a question about bags. So when it comes to each particular program, we will have a packing list. So in that Broadreach portal that I mentioned, once you're signed up, you'll receive a packing list specific to the program length and the program style, so land-based or boat-based. Generally, students will have a carry-on backpack. We'll have important documents and important things, change of clothes, some of your more important vital things that you need in case that checked bag for some reason doesn't make it to the destination. Of course, we're there to help if for some reason a bag went missing. And also, when it comes to that checked bag, students can check one large bag if they like, or two smaller bags. What we actually request on our boat-based programs is that they're just not hard-sided bags, so they're easy to store once on board. But that specific bag size, it can certainly range, Samantha. So there's some leeway in that.
And we've got a question both in the chat and in the Q&A about cell phones, and I wanted to answer this one live anyways because I think it's a common question.
Go for it.
Yeah, so students will have, most of them I'm assuming will be coming with their cell phones. We do want to limit we want students to be able to disconnect from virtual things while they're on program, but we also recognize that, sometimes they might use cell phones for taking photos or for listening to music, things like that. So typically the instructors will take the SIM cards and will keep those safe, especially if you're on a boat, near the water, can be precarious with expensive electronics and the sea. So we will keep those SIM cards safe. Of course, if a student needs to call home, we do have a day a week where students, we facilitate students calling home, and so you can talk to them. And if there's, of course, an emergency or anything, we can also give them their SIM cards back, as well as for any travel days. And the instructors will always have a working cell phone on hand as well. So there's, first anything emergencies, they need to get in touch with anyone, they will be reachable. So someone who's with your student will have a phone that's working in case they need that.
Great. Yeah, cell phones, we realize how ubiquitous they are, how much they are part of our lives and our world. So we do try and strike that balance. But as particular questions come up about your student's adventure, we can always help address those. So a lot of great questions in this webinar. I think we've got another one here from Courtney. So on a 12-day trip, approximately how many times would the boat stop to tour on land, or would they be on the water the whole time? We will take time to visit the islands that we're diving and sailing around. So St. Martin, Saba, St. Bart's, even a land-based stop just off of St. Bart's called Colombier for some body surfing. There's a really great beach for that. Ile Fourche is a beautiful hike on St. Bart's. We've also got Mount Scenery, which is on Saba. So we'll visit towns like Gustavia and also visit, it's called the Windward Side on Saba. So hikes and town visits, some beach stops along the way. So we will have plenty of time to get off the boat and explore. So I would say once every other day, so probably about 5 or 6 times, we'll be getting off the boat on one of these programs. All right. We've got a question about diets. We can accommodate different diets, and if somebody is gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, different dietary restrictions around allergies, as long as you let us know in that application, we'll also follow up and get more information on those dietary restrictions and or allergies as we get closer to a program. So we can definitely accommodate that on all of our middle school programs. So we've got a question. So unfortunately, Chandra, the programs for middle schoolers are only open to students that are currently in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So rising 6th graders, not quite yet. But if for some reason that changes, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we're glad that you're checking out our programs at this early stage. So do keep in touch with us. But yep, only for current 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Should we take maybe one more question?
Sure. Yeah.
See, there's one. Would you say most kids or not that take the trip are already boat lovers and have experience with sailing and snorkeling? What do you
So
think?
I would say that the majority of students that will attend the Broadreach program, especially in middle school, they don't know yet if they are in love with sailing or snorkeling or boat lovers, so to speak. I would say that they are curious. And if they're comfortable in the water, that helps. So good swimmers or have been swimming before. If they don't have experience with sailing in particular, that's okay. Snorkeling is great if you've done it before, but again, these are not prerequisites. Really, the most important thing is that they're physically ready to take on those adventures. They feel comfortable with that, and that they're excited to learn. So yeah, we do just want enthusiastic explorers on our program. So they don't need to have a whole lot of experience beforehand. All right. Okay, I am going to also in the chat here put in my email address. So as any families have questions specifically, email is a great way to get in touch with me. I can also pass along some questions to Bethany as well, but we're really grateful for y'all being here. These were such good questions, and we're really excited for the summer of 2022. We'll also be sending a recording of this webinar, so if you want to replay it, share it, feel free to, and then yeah, we look forward to having your students join us on Broadreach this summer. So everyone enjoy their weekends, be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.